Welcome to the Beau Show. In my continued coverage of CPAC in Orlando, I wanted to share some of my interviews with sitting members of Congress as well as candidates who are hoping to be part of the midterm red wave. Both current members and candidates seem to be very eager and optimistic as Joe Biden's numbers continue to tumble, which of course affects the Democratic Party across the board. The first representative I spoke to was Lauren Boebert of Colorado, a firebrand who has placed the Second Amendment front and center in her political stance. Here's Congresswoman Lauren Boebert.
We're at CPAC 2022 in Orlando, and I'm joined by the great Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Thank you so much for being here, Congresswoman.
So great to be here.
I've just kind of a background question for you. What got you interested in politics? What gave you the politics bug, so to speak?
First of all, I don't think I'm interested in it just yet. I got frustrated with politics. I was so frustrated being a business owner and watching people who promise one thing go to where we send them, elect them to be, and do another. They overregulate, overtax, overspend, and destroy everything that we're building at home. But I think the big launching moment was really over our Second Amendment rights. I've been a Second Amendment advocate through my restaurant in Rifle, Colorado, Shooter's Grill, for several years. And Beto O'Rourke from a presidential debate stage announced the Democrat playbook and said, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15s and your AK-47s. I traveled 3 hours to his presidential rally with my Glock on my hip. And I looked him in the eye and told him, hell no, you're not. And I saw in that moment that I could affect and represent millions of people just by speaking what I believe.
You know, we left over $80 billion of equipment in Afghanistan. Isn't it ironic to you that we have trouble buying a firearm in the United States of America when we left that much equipment over there?
I think that right there makes the entire gun control debate null and void. When you hand over military equipment, $80 billion or more in military equipment to terrorists, you no longer have an opinion over my Glock. You don't have an opinion over my AR-15 and what I can and cannot carry here in the United States. Democrats and their gun policies, if they worked, their cities would look like utopias.
Right.
They would be safe havens, but they're not. Crime is up. They want to defund the police. And that is where we see the most failure in our country, is these Democrat-run cities. And I think a lot of people are seeing that the bill has come due for these Democrat policies.
And with what we see in Russia and Ukraine, with that invasion, would you say that's another great justification for the Second Amendment?
Every day now, we are seeing why American citizens, why people all over the world need AR-15s and AK-47s. Their government has now just granted them all permission to bear arms, to pick up arms, fight in this war. And I love what President Zelensky has said. It really is the modern day live free or die. He said, the fight is here. I need ammunition, not a ride. And that was so powerful, because you see, when you're in a moment like this, it's life or death. And a firearm is definitely a way to preserve freedom.
Well, Congresswoman Boebert, thank you so much for your time and stopping by today.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also spoke with the gentleman running for Congress in the Virginia Beach area. And we know that Republican Glenn Youngkin had a sweeping victory as governor in what had been thought to be a blue state. Tommy Altman is a tattoo parlor owner, and it is this small business owner / outsider quality he hopes to take to D.C. Here's Tommy Altman.
My guest right now is Tommy Altman. How are you, Tommy?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Well, the theme here is awake, not woke. So we're going to go over a lot of subjects, I think, in discussing your race. You are running for Congress in the Virginia Beach area of Virginia. What's the district?
Second district.
Second district. Okay. Were you surprised at the massive Glenn Youngkin victory there? And what does that mean for your race?
No, actually, I wasn't surprised at all. I was talking to other people in the campaign. They're like, well, I don't know how it's going to go. Man, you don't understand. Like, the American people and the people of Virginia, the second districts especially, the working class, man, we've had enough. We've had enough with these career politicians, these elitist ideas that come out of Washington, D.C. and out of the state capitol there. So, yeah, I knew it was going to happen. Really excited about it. And what it means is that Virginia's not a blue state. So you keep hearing everybody say it's a blue state. I said, no, it's not. It's a conservative state.
Northern Virginia is quite blue, though.
Yeah, Northern Virginia, they have their qualms. But, at the end of the day, I think that the people spoke, and that's what matters.
I recently learned that CNN and the Philadelphia Inquirer did a story about how in that specific gubernatorial race that 75% of non-college educated women voted for Glenn Youngkin.
Sure.
And they're talking about that voting bloc maybe being in the driver's seat of elections to come. What do you think they were attracted to? Do you think it was CRT? Was it mandates? Was it parental rights? What do you think it was?
I think it's all of those things. I really do. Honestly, I think that people love that he was a political outsider. We've seen for far too long, we've had these people that are within the system, within whichever party, honestly, and they just kind of do their own thing, and they ignore the American people. And so I think that was a big part of it. Obviously, parental rights had a huge issue, or a huge part of the issue. So I'm really excited about how all that stuff went down. We were watching the debates, and when McAuliffe stepped in, everybody just turned around and said, okay, the race is over. At the end of the day, we have to push back on the evil that we're seeing. And when you make the moms mad, you've really done something, And so I'm telling you right now, nobody's going to fight for the kids like the parents will. And when the mama bears got mad, it made all the difference, that's for sure.
Well, speaking of outsiders, you are an outsider. You're a small business owner. Tell the folks what you own and how that's unique to this race.
Yeah, so I am a small business owner. We've owned our own business for the last 5 years. We own a tattoo studio, which isn't normal for people running for Congress. I know that. But I believe that's what we need. Again, I think that people are just sick and tired of the normal establishment-connected candidates. People want somebody who looks like them, that they can identify with, who understands what the things that they talk about with their kids before they're tucking them into bed at night. Who understands the conversation they have around the breakfast table, the things that they're struggling with. Somebody else that's doing the same thing, that's working a business and has to make ends meet, has to make payroll for their employees. Look, I'm an ordained minister as well. I'm a special operations combat veteran, Afghanistan and Iraq. So I had that experience. But the thing I love being a blue collar worker.
Can you show this camera right here what's on your hands?
Yes.
On those knuckles? It says live free.
Yeah, live free. A lot of people go, hey, was that for the campaign? So no, that would be very weird.
Thanks so much for your time today, and best of luck on your race and your tattoo parlor. I will not be getting one because I'm terrified of needles. But,
hey, me too.
But
I pass out every time they take my blood. They always laugh at me.
Thanks so much, Tommy. Appreciate your time.
You, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
In addition, I spoke to Noah Malgerie, who is running for Congress in the Las Vegas area, another Democrat-leaning district. But he's poised to spoil their plans. Here's veteran and attorney Noah Malgerie.
My guest that's joining me today is Noah Malgerie. How are you, Noah?
Great, Beau. It's great to be with you.
Noah, you are running for Congress in a district in Las Vegas that runs typically a little bit blue, a little bit Democrat, but you feel the incumbent is weak. What do you want to do for this district?
Well, it's really the issues that are facing all of America. We're getting hit particularly hard in Nevada with our economy, but inflation is out of control, and I believe this is one of the biggest issues that could really spell the demise of the American experiment if we don't do something about it immediately. We're a day late and a dollar short on this. Problem is, the inflation monster is already unleashed. It's structural, and it's not going away unless we engage in some drastic cost cutting. We're continuing to engage in this profligate spending in D.C., and we're just killing ourselves. We're shooting ourselves in the foot. We're destroying our sovereign currency, and it really manifests as a tax to destroy what's the left of the middle class, which is almost gone and was almost eliminated by the COVID restrictions and all the small businesses that were kicked out.
Well, you're a veteran, and you're also a lawyer as well. You used to give free legal advice, and I believe you told me that fared very well with Democrats probably before they knew you were running. Do you think that will help you in a general election?
Well, I just think that work is so very important. I mean, the work that we were able to do, the assistance that we were able to provide to so many people on a pro bono basis, really facilitating attorneys to get involved and volunteer their time and their services, their energy and their resources and their expertise to the most vulnerable and in-need population groups and communities in the Las Vegas area, including foster children, victims of domestic violence and sex trafficking, who might not otherwise be able to attain justice or access justice because they simply couldn't afford attorneys. So that was really something that I was really proud of. It's one of the most proud career achievements that I've ever had.
What are the basic principles and values you think are most important to reclaim right now?
Yeah, it's really the freedom movement. I mean, honestly, right now, our fundamental individual liberties, self-determination, autonomy, medical autonomy, parental rights, our ability to freedom of association, freedom of expression. Censorship is a massive issue now, but freedom for privacy, freedom from government intrusion, really the basic fundamental civil liberties that are enshrined in the Bill of Rights. I mean, I'm a civil libertarian, and it's funny, the conservative movement is really inherited the civil libertarian, the role of championing civil liberties, because the left has absolutely abandoned those. They're on the side of statism, authoritarianism, totalitarianism, censorship, and we're the ones who now are the champions. We have to be the champions of those things. So to me, that's the most fundamental threat that we face. We're facing looming, almost imminent authoritarianism in the form of some kind of neo-Marxism.
Well, Noah Malgerie, thanks so much for joining me today and taking the time, and best of luck to you on the race.
Thanks, Beau. It's a pleasure to be with you.
My pleasure.
All right, brother. Thanks.
When I attended Northwestern University in the Chicagoland area, I knew that Chicago is predominantly a Democratic stronghold, even though much of the rest of Illinois is not. But Illinois is the land of Abraham Lincoln, and there have been times when the state has opted for Republican leadership, even though the state gave rise to then Senator Barack Obama. So I spoke with a young guy running for the State House of Representatives, Matthew Rauscher, about his hopes to change things.
Matt, you're a candidate running in Illinois, the state of Illinois. Illinois is a blue state, largely because Chicago politics seem to dominate it. What's the state of conservatives in your state?
So I think there's a rebirth of our grassroots movement, and I think it's a unique opportunity for us to get people engaged and involved. And I think Illinois is sliding towards being red. I'd like to think it's closer to being red than Texas is blue.
Yeah.
And I'd say the most promising thing for me is the suburban voter used to think pro-choice was their top issue they wanted to vote on. Now it's crime. And obviously the conservative movement is going to be the solution to that. So I think we've got a good cycle here coming for Illinois Republicans. Yeah.
Well, you know, after what happened with Glenn Youngkin in Virginia, I think that gave a lot of people hope. And I remember years ago I sang for the inauguration of Bruce Rauner, a Republican governor. Do you think there's hope for people like your friend Greg Rabin to change the governor's house?
I think Gary Rabine's got a great shot. He's a strong conservative. He's a good guy. It's a packed primary. We have a few good candidates, a few bad candidates, I'll be honest there. But I think Gary, if he won, he'd be a great governor. I think he's got a shot to win it. So yeah.
Tell me some things specifically that J.B. Pritzker's doing bad for Illinois.
Well, you know, the first thing that comes to mind is the mandates. So he did the mask mandates, and he's been pretty political about it. You know, he lifted it for businesses, but not kids in school, which, you know, the science doesn't back that up. And he's been bad for the regulatory environment. He's been bad for the tax environment. So bad for business. I mean, Illinois lost 120,000 people last year. So it's a pretty extreme decline that we're witnessing in Illinois.
Talk a little bit about your state as well. You're running for the state house.
Yeah, state representative.
State representative. Has the GOP failed to have a large presence there? What do you see in terms of the GOP's activity in your state?
So it's on a county by county basis, as it is in many states. And I personally, in 6 counties, and I find myself involved with a few more than that county GOPs. And, you know, there are counties that are really struggling. They maybe got 3-4 precinct captains that are active, and, you know, their banquets are underattended and things of that sort. You know, I'd call it a go along to get along portion of the party. That's a little more passive, a little more establishment. And then there's a new generation, which I feel I'm a part of and hopefully leading aspect of. And, you know, I think we bring a lot of energy, a grassroots approach, and, you know, we're out knocking doors, phone banking. But a lot of these activities haven't been done in many years. And, you know, I think the largest thing our party could do better is we think our policy is what loses us elections. So we become more and more moderate, more and more compromising over the years, when really I just think our campaign apparatus is pathetic, and we're spineless in the way we approach our politics. You know, we need to be more aggressive and have some more fortitude. So,
well, I was recently watching Kayleigh McEnany speak at this American Freedom Tour, and she was talking about the poll advantage right now that Republicans seem to have nationwide, something like 10 points or something. With how poorly the Democrats are doing in polling, and with a very unpopular president, do you think a flipping of your state or a red wave is futile, possible, or probable?
Possible in 22. I think probable in 24. You know, I'd like to think probable for 22, but I think we need to get our act together as a party, and I think we need to get some people in, like myself, from the new generation to really bring some energy for 24.
Well, Matt, thank you so much, and best of luck on your race.
I really appreciate it.
Take
It's
care.
been great getting so, yeah.
Lastly, I spoke to Kaitlyn Dorr, who is the Senior Vice President of Engagement at Getter, the new social media platform started by a former advisor to Donald Trump in July of 2021. Less than a year old, Getter has seen substantial growth as an alternative to Twitter and Facebook, and also became a new outlet for Joe Rogan, who saw that Twitter was getting almost Chinese Communist Party-like in its censorship. So here's my chat with Kaitlyn Dorr of Getter.
Kaitlyn Dorr, thanks so much for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Beau. This
Good
is
to have
an
you.
honor.
Yeah, I'm excited. Kaitlyn, you got your start really in politics and communications in Iowa. Is that right? Tell us your story.
Yeah, actually, I got started at the lowest of rungs possible in the political world. So I was a field organizer for a candidate. His name was Bob Johnson in
What is it
Georgia.
again?
Bob Johnson.
You
You know
said
how
Mob
hard
at first.
you know how hard it is to run for office with a name like Bob Johnson. But this is way back when, during the Tea Party era, and we took this guy with no name recognition to a runoff in Georgia against a legacy guy. So really kind of lit a fire under me, and our CEO here at Getter, which we're going to talk about in a second, Jason Miller was a consultant on that race, and we just kind of been two peas in a pod ever
yeah,
since.
your ties run pretty deep. How did you get the gig in comms in Trump's White House?
Yeah, that's another really great story. So Jason and I were doing kind of communications and advertising for Senator Ted Cruz, who's running for president, and we wrote this blistering ad. Man, it really tore up President Trump. And next thing I know, Jason says, "Hey, I just got a call from Donald Trump, and we're going up to New York." So we flew up to New York. I mean, he hires he hires all the people he thinks get under his skin, right? I mean, he's the best at it. We flew up to Trump Tower. We worked there for 6 months, and we shocked the world. And so, of course, winning the campaign, obviously, we kind of rolled over into the White House. So I did congressional communications. I helped manage the cabinet. I did kind of a bunch of things, and I ended up leaving and going back to work at the Treasury for COVID, doing a lot of the COVID response stuff as well.
So you must have made an impression by being an attack on him in order to get him to recruit you, right?
Yeah,
that's how you do it in this world, right?
That was fun, man.
Well,
I don't really bring it up, but it's a good one.
Well, we've obviously seen how Trump as a social media maven was able to speak directly to the people. But then, of course, social media canceled him. So your colleague, Jason Miller, starts Getter. What kind of growth have you seen just in over a year?
Oh, my goodness. Well, it hasn't even been a year. We were looking at like 8 or 9 months now, not even. And we're at nearly 5 million users, and our daily active user number is through the roof. You're looking at, over a third of people who signed up are active constantly, which is just incredible, right? Especially considering, you look at it, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all these things, they're really ingrained in our society, right? They're not social media companies, they're data companies, right? There have been more times where I've signed up for something simply using it because of my Facebook login, because it's just easier, and they know that. And so we've really gone to work. We're retraining the way people think. And what I like to say, what I've been saying all day today here at CPAC is, the left wins when you feel like you're alone, right? And they've been really successful at doing that. And when they can cancel the sitting president of the United States, they can cancel any of us. There's nothing stopping them from doing that.
Yeah. Kaitlyn, my show, the Beau Show, is on Getter, and I fully expect to follow from you.
I'm going to.
And
I'll
maybe
do it right
the
after
other
this.
5 million people that are on it. It'd be great if you could send some of those my way.
We'll
That'd
do a
be
little
great.
something. Look, if you guys watch this, you got to at me at Kaitlyn, Kaelan. I need you to tell me how good a job Beau's doing, okay? I need you guys to hold me accountable for this.
And then we can also say how good of a job Kaitlyn's doing, too, in this interview as well.
We're all right. I can't do it without you. Can't do it without you.
Kaitlyn Dorr, thanks so much for your time today. Appreciate you.
Of course, brother. Thanks for having me.